Loves to press buttons.
I like pressing the buttons. All right. We are live. People should be seeing their ads any second now. Unless it happens like it did on the stream the other night where we talked for 5 minutes before anything actually happened. Yep, there it goes. Awesome. We are live, everybody. If you could let us know in the chat how we all sound. I'm mixing on the fly here, so it's not quite set up the way that it usually is for the weekly stream. So let us know. This is Jeremy speaking. Who else is here? Say hi, John.
Hi, John.
That's John. Say
You're
hi,
a little
Jennifer.
more echoey than you are usually, Jeremy.
What's that?
You're a little more like echoey, noisy
Really?
than usual. Not as like smooth and smarmy like Jean-Marc is.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly why that is. Because we took the pop shield thing off because it was causing issues that time, and then also I wanted to get the mic even closer to Jennifer's face on Wednesday.
Is that why I was echoing for part of my thing?
I don't. It wouldn't have any
was,
effect at that second because this pop shield was off the whole time.
Yeah, that's
echoing
true.
definitely seemed to be related to how much work your computer was doing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was. That makes sense.
I don't think we've heard from Jean-Marc yet. Are you here, Jean-Marc?
I am still here.
There he is.
See, listen to that. He's like the voice of Candelabra Public Radio.
Exactly. HPR, Candelabra Public Radio, coming to you
And
from.
incidentally, we're running a telethon.
We're on the final day.
We are running a telethon. With your pledge, we can keep bringing you the amazing content that you've become accustomed to.
To know and love.
That you know and love. So let's do, I guess we'll do a quick recap. So as you guys can see on screen, we're currently at $96,735 of our $80,000 goal, which means we are what, John? Fully funded! Woo!
I don't know what you want me to say.
Yay!
It's not like we rehearsed anything.
There was a
came
number
back.
of correct statements that could have stood there.
We are the most handsome
I just
people on
got
the
back
planet.
from the pub.
John got back from the pub? Were you
Just moments
celebrating
ago.
early, John?
Lately.
I don't have any champagne, unfortunately. Although I did want to mention to everybody out there in Streamland that we do have a guest watching today. Say hi, Ian.
Hi.
So this is Ian. He is a young local boy here who wants to be a video game developer someday. And he contacted me because his school has them... What was it? It was like follow somebody whose profession you're interested in? Shadow someone. So he came on a completely normal day for Candelabra Games, a day that, like every other day, like when we raise $100,000 almost on Kickstarter.
It's like the most typical day ever.
Exactly. So yeah, so he's gonna sit and watch, and he's watching the chat, and he's hanging out, watching the numbers tick up. This morning he got to sit in on our stand-up meeting. He got to see a little bit of the technology that we use to build the game. Yeah, it was a. What do you think? It was a pretty good time. Awesome. And then he also...
We've scheduled now, from now on, every day we'll have a Kickstarter ending for us.
Yes. We're going to schedule Kickstarters, 24-hour Kickstarters for every single day so that we can have somebody come and watch. He also hung out here at the Start Mart. There's a couple of other developers here. There's actually a coding bootcamp school here, so we get to hang out with them. And our buddy Jared, who's another local indie developer who works out of here, both teaching and making his own games, so we got to hang out with him a little bit as well. And he's just going to hang out with us while we tick down the numbers, or hopefully tick up the numbers. So we're at 96,790, which means from a recap of the whole sort of what we've done, we've crossed our first 3 stretch goals. The first one, I think we crossed Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday before the stream, right? And what was that unlock, Jean-Marc?
Pop quiz is coming in.
Omnitron U. Yes, because nobody rehearsed any of this, so I'm just going to put them all on the spot. Yes, so we unlocked Omnitron U, which was a digital first variant that you guys got to play before anyone else in the video game. Then we crossed... That was the $85,000 stretch goal. Then we crossed the $90,000.
Jean-Marc forgot about that because he implemented it like 2 months ago.
Yes. So then we crossed the $90,000 stretch goal, which was what, Jennifer?
Digital or exclusive avatar.
Yes, multiplayer Season 2 Kickstarter avatar. A lot of you guys have avatars already. If you participated in the Oblivion Kickstarter, you got an exclusive one for helping back that Kickstarter. And now you're going to grow your collection. There's going to be a special one for any backers. We'll be able to get that. And then if you backed at a mobile level, there's actually a completely separate mobile avatar that's actually only going to ever be available on mobile. So if you back as a mobile backer, or if you add 501 to your pledge to become a mobile backer, you will also get that avatar. But if you never plan on playing mobile, just be advised that that avatar, at least as it is currently planned, will never show up anywhere other than mobile, right? Isn't that the idea?
I think that's the idea.
Yes.
It's only going to be available on mobile.
Right.
For mobile backers.
Exactly.
So, but like we are bringing the game to phones, which was something we announced in update number 9. And so I think there's many people who, play the game on Steam and are planning to get it on their phones later this summer when that comes out. And so they've pitched in for the mobile level as well.
Yes, and actually that's probably worth mentioning too, because we've had a number of questions about this, and I believe we've answered them mostly in the comments on the Kickstarter, but we can answer this too. Our current goal is to have the phone version out sometime this summer, and it will either be simultaneous with or very shortly before the Season Pass Preview Pack 2, which we unlocked this morning at the $95,000 stretch goal. Now, when we say those things, whenever we talk about release dates, we always like to mention that those are plans and not confirmations. You'll notice that we use the broad term this summer and not like, June 32nd, because the idea is that you'll also notice I picked a non-date for my example so that they can't use it against me.
They will still use it against you.
Yeah, they'll be like, confirmed July 2nd. Da, 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 da. Anyway, the point is that we are working hard, and actually now that we know for a fact what the next thing we're going to be working on is, we can dive right into that. Up until this morning, it was still a little bit touch and go. Or is it going to be? Are we going to be working on Vengeance right away? Are we going to start in on the preview pack? I don't really know, but now we know. We crossed 95,000. We reached that stretch goal. So now Season Pass Preview Pack is the next thing after Mini Pack 3. That means it's going to include... Who's going to be, let's see, John. Who's the hero?
The hero is the unluckiest hero of the multiverse. Setback.
And what is Setback?
AKA the most requested hero from the please make the heroes of Vengeance available before Vengeance crowd.
Definitely.
There is a crowd. We know you.
Yes.
We still love you.
We know you. We love you. We've heard from you for sure. So that is going to be the hero. And then Jennifer, who's going to be the villain?
Choke Point.
Choke Point. Choke Point is interesting because kind of like Iron Legacy, I believe she has more than one nemesis, right? Does anybody else know that for a fact? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, she has 3 nemesis.
3 nemesis. And they are who? I think, are they the Termination people?
That is correct.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. So there was a comment saying, can we get a direct link between Choke Point and Termination? And you already have a direct link between Choke Point and Termination. And it is that.
And it is her nemesis icons, yes. And then finally, in the Season Pass Preview Pack is going to be the environment. And what environment is that going to be, Jean-Marc?
The Temple of Zulong.
Indeed. And
which is very interesting because it has a card that can bring a hero back from incapacitation.
More fun for Jean-Marc.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll bring with it its own wackiness.
So Knight of the Frozen Lance has asked for each of us to answer individually, if you were to be one of the heroes of the multiverse, who would you be? Oh, 96,945. Looks like we're going to cross 97,000.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this stand-up style. So
All right.
Someone goes first, and then you say who the next person.
All right. Jean-Marc is going first.
I would be the Argent Adept for, I think, obvious reasons.
because you have found instruments like in a ditch that were.
And I performed them, and then people started dealing more damage.
All right, who's next, Jean-Marc?
Jeremy?
Well, Stelindus already stole mine in the chat.
The obvious
But yeah,
answer.
even having not seen how Luminary plays as a hero, I've already been Luminary. I was Luminary at PAX. I've obviously been Baron Blade in many of his various incarnations, and him going heroic, I mean, how do you say no to that? There
Jeremy,
may be...
please relate the story with you and Christopher talking about what you should cosplay.
Okay, so yeah, so at PAX Prime... no, actually, it was at Gen Con. It was Gen Con the year before we went to PAX Prime and showed off the game before it was released. So it would have been Gen Con 2014. I went to Christopher. We were showing off the gameplay preview at Gen Con, and I said, I feel like I want to really get into this cosplay idea. What hero should I cosplay as? And he was like, why do you want to cosplay as a hero? I was like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Who do you, what type am I? I mean, you know, should I be like Chrono Ranger or whatever? And he was like, dude, you are Baron Blade. You have to cosplay as Baron Blade. You essentially look exactly like him. And I don't even remember if at that time I had the goatee or not. But basically, once I went home and made sure that I could shave into the goatee and look at myself in the mirror, I was like, my goodness, he's right. I guess I'll have to be Baron Blade. And I would like to think, in fact, here, we'll just go ahead and confirm in Sentinels lore, he created Luminary because he knew I wanted to cosplay as a hero. That's confirmed. Tell Christopher I confirmed that on the live stream. That Luminary only exists because Jeremy wanted to cosplay as a hero. I'm sure he'll be
Hashtag
thrilled.
canon
Confirmed
now.
on Sentinels Live.
Confirmed on Sentinels Live. Jennifer, take it away.
Oh my gosh, I've given a lot of thought to which villain. Hero, like I want to say Tempest, but maybe the Wraith. Like if I was going to be a human hero, like she has all the cool toys.
Where does she get such wonderful toys? You guys are all probably too young to even know that Batman. That's like from the first Tim Burton Batman. All right, who's left?
It is I. I think I would be Parse because I can see the Matrix.
That makes sense. I was actually gonna. I was
I'm
gonna.
not that good with the bow and arrow, but I probably could be decent with a bow and arrow if I practiced. Probably not Parse level, but you know.
I was gonna joke that you would be Visionary because of the shaved head.
There's also Setback has a shaved head, like sort of a completely hairless thing.
$5 away from 97,000.
Silver Lining. I actually know the artwork for Silver Lining really well because it's attached to one of our Trello cards that we open all the time. I'm not sure why it is there, but it is. Jean-Marc knows what I'm talking about.
Yes. It was from when I was in the hospital and I had all those tubes in me, and you were like, hey.
97,060.
I actually attached it. I don't even remember.
Yep.
That's funny.
All right, we have crossed 97,000. We have 7 minutes to go. So we only need 2,000. What is it? $2,940 to get to 100K.
If each backer adds $1,
There you go. It's that time of the campaign.
it's that
Seriously.
time with 16 minutes to go. If all of you 2,800 backers are listening to us right now, which I'm sure you are,
I'm going to add
Neat.
$1 to mine.
So a couple other questions that have cropped up a little bit. So people have asked specifically how the whole counting the sales after the Kickstarter thing is going to go for stretch goals. And so let's go ahead and tell you that in as much as we know it, because there are some things that are still yet to be determined. But we can tell you that for sure, sales on all of the mobile stores of Season Pass 2 will be counted towards stretch goals. So on iOS, on Google, on Android, purchases of Season Pass 2, the full retail price is what we're going to count. So basically we're going to take the number of copies that we sell in that 24-hour period and multiply it by 25, and that is how much money is going to be counted towards it. People have asked, well, can we count sales of the foils? The The reason why we can't count sales of the foils is because there is actually no guarantee the foils will be out by then. As we say sort of in the campaign, the foils are going to come out when we get to them, which is probably going to be sometime, you know, late summer to into the fall, whatever. But it's not, those aren't the first priority. The first priority is the Season Pass preview pack and then Vengeance. And then we'll start working on the foils sort of in tandem with that. But we're not pushing to get those out right away. And so as a result, we won't be able to sell them during the discount period. And even if we were, they're not technically part of the thing anyway, because they were a late addition to the Kickstarter.
Yep. Someone's saying there's no stretch goal at 100K, and that's all right. The next stretch goal is at 110, but remember, all those additional purchases during the discount period will count. So the closer we get towards that 110 and further, 125 and 150, the more likely we're going to actually hit those.
Yeah. There was also
even
some,
if they're not going to be at the campaign.
There was also some commenting about saying, oh, I'd rather have the music than challenge modes. Can we switch the order around? And while I'm sure Jean-Marc appreciates having lots of fans. Oh, thank you,
right,
Pricey
Jeremy.
Provinces.
I made your link public just now because I saw that.
Yep. So let's copy that link. Yeah, sure. Let's say you guys got to it. You were close enough this morning.
There be an update?
Pricey
Jeremy,
Provinces.
I made your link public just now because I saw that.
Yep. So let's copy that link. Yeah, sure. Let's say you guys got to it. You were close
Jeremy,
enough this
will
morning.
There be an update?
There will be an update, but I'll just give you guys the link here in the chat. So there you go. Download your Worldly Wanderer. It's from the mini packs. These things are pretty awesome. Basically this morning you guys were close enough that you were going to make it one way or another, and then a couple of specific people went a little crazy on Twitter this morning. In fact, it was, let me find, HH2 News retweeted every single tweet that we've tweeted for the last 30 days. In order. So that our retweet area literally has nothing but like all the tweets. So he went on a retweet rampage. That's right. So yeah, you guys definitely made it. So you can, their link is there. It'll go out on our Twitter. It'll go out in an update later today. We'll do like we just finished, let's all wrap it up post to the Kickstarter so that everybody can see it who didn't happen to make it to the stream. But yeah, you guys did it. And actually at this point, since we're 13 minutes out, I'll go ahead and reveal, I think it's probably pretty obvious at this point, but the other two social stretch goals were to unlock wallpapers from the environments we haven't made yet. So they were going to be unlocked and sort of as a TBD IOU that basically as we make them, we were going to release the wallpapers for you guys. And we may still do that, quite frankly, because obviously we haven't done it yet because we haven't made the environments yet. But when we do, this was actually a really fun exercise, having Jennifer sort of go back into the environments and frame them up really nice and you know, generate them really high res. It was actually a lot of fun to go through them and see what new angles we could come up with and stuff. So,
and you never know, they could be a bonus for something else.
That's true.
In the future.
The character wallpapers were even fun.
Yes, the character wallpapers. So those aren't going to be just free out, you know, to go. Those are going to be delivered directly only to backers via Backer Kit, and that's going to go out probably. You know, basically we're going to try and get the Backer Kit surveys out early next week, Monday or Tuesday, if I can swing it. And then as we get your responses back, we will be shipping you your character wallpaper packs, your Steam keys for things that already exist, your soundtracks, etc., etc., etc. So yes.
So there's a question from Third Anguis about what's going to be the most headache to program in Season 2, and there's some follow-ups about the Celestial Tribunal and putting an extra hero, quote, from the box, unquote, into the game. I think, obviously, we'll have to wait and see till we get there, but most likely the box that you have in terms of characters you have available for that card is going to be determined by what expansions you own and what variants you've unlocked. But Jean-Marc, do you have any thoughts about, you've looked at some of the future content, any thoughts about interesting, fun programming?
I've seen the cards for Akash 3. Yeah, that one's pretty crazy.
But I think nothing is as crazy as Guys.
No, nothing that I've seen from Season 2 is as crazy as guys, and even those that do have weird things, like Maze of Mirrors says, treat every instance of the word villain on a hero card as if it were the word hero instead. That'll already sort of have a precedent for it because of guys. So he's kind of paving the way for the rest of them. One thing that I do think will be a little wonky is Freak Show. Because it says a hero's player may discard 2 cards at any time to destroy this card.
Yes.
That's one we have to talk to Christopher about.
Yeah.
We might have that. If any card is going to potentially change for the digital game, it might be that one. Just for, you don't want to have a dialogue every turn, every phase, which is, do you want to do it now? 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 Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, so some people who came late are asking, who's that guy? That's Ian. He is. They've thankfully answered it in the chat for me, but yeah, basically he is shadowing us today because he wants to be a game developer. He's learning all kinds of cool stuff about how do you talk to the internet online today.
To follow up on that a little bit is, when we were first developing Sentinels, Jean-Marc and I were going through okay, we need to build the game basically so that, if you look at a game like Settlers of Catan, anything that happens in the game is very straightforward. A number goes up here, a piece gets placed there. The end. There's nothing that reacts to things or, is putting effects into play that are temporary and expire and that sort of stuff. But in Sentinels, we need to basically anytime something changes, it's not just changing the thing. It sort of needs to have an associated action that's causing that to happen, and reactions can happen and so on. And when we're doing that, we're like, so it's pretty much as complicated as Magic, but thank God it doesn't have instance where you can do anything, you can play a card anytime. And then we saw that card come in Madame Mittermeier, and we're like, oh
boy, here we go.
Now Sentinels has an instant.
Actually, for Oblivion, Christopher was going to write a card that had the words, you can play this card at any time to, and then he's like, wait, the video game. And then he changed it. So thank you, Christopher.
Yeah, and in sort of like game playing terms, instants are kind of a funny thing where they can sort of, I think it's really difficult to balance those type of cards when you can play a card at any time.
Yeah,
it's something that can be really difficult.
All right, we got 8 minutes left, people. 8 minutes. If you have a friend that is gonna pledge, now would be the time. Let's put on, how about Megalopolis for this last few minutes here?
People are suggesting things to do for a Freak Show. We will figure it out when we get there.
In the immortal words of John Arnold, we will cross that bridge when we see how much fire it's on.
Exactly.
We had a question in the chat if after the Kickstarter will be, if it'll be possible to play with us. Are we gonna? Is anyone gonna be sticking around to play online multiplayer today?
I'm not, because I have stuff to do in terms of closing the Kickstarter.
I can stick around a little bit. If anyone wants to play.
Yeah, I'm reading some of the suggestions for Freak Show. We'll make it work somehow, but saying just put a thing on the card to make it destroy is more difficult than you can possibly imagine. Because of the way that the engine works, in that there's sort of an order to everything, which up until that card was perfectly reasonable. But this is like sort of an out of order kind of thing, so it'll have to like be its own separate thing that you can do that isn't necessarily related to what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm. $27.99 backers, and we have $97,200. That is pleasing from a numerological point of view.
So we are trying to answer questions, but I will apologize if we miss your question, because there are a lot of questions coming in. So
yeah,
if your question gets missed, feel free to ask it again.
Yeah, and make sure that if you want an answer from a specific team member or from the team at large, make sure you're mentioning that person and or Handelabra Games so that it'll call it out.
So this is a good one for Jeremy. Once Oblivion is released, do you think you'll continue to convert board games into video games?
That is absolutely the plan. Our goal is to be, essentially, the best digital board game company in the world. That's what we want to be. 2,800 backers, everybody.
And actually... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, that's actually sort of what made me interested in the whole thing was because I did some programming for games that, like, involve physics and stuff like that. And, you know, I just kind of realized that wasn't really my thing. Mine was much more of the, like, sort of modular element of that I then kind of made the association like, oh, well, card games do that a lot.
5 minutes, everybody. 5 minutes.
So, anyway, that was something that I was happy about.
Yeah, so somebody else actually asked, this might lead in a little bit into this question. It says, what are your guys' favorite non-Sentinels board games? And that is, you know, speaking to what you were just talking about, Jean-Marc, about how games, you know, they're more about the thinking and the strategy a lot of times versus, you know, the physics and the graphics and the whatever. You know, I was not a huge board gamer before I was sort of reintroduced to the hobby of board gaming at a PAX. And, like, my favorite board game when I was a kid, I've said this a couple times, was a game called Stratego. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with that game.
Yep.
I played a lot when I was very little, and I loved it. But my other favorite current board game is probably deck building. I play it with my kids and they love it, and it's such a great little quick game. So, Jen, what do you think?
Go ahead, Jen.
My favorite board game is definitely Munchkin. Other than Sentinels, but.
And for some reason, there isn't a digital version of that. I don't know why. Seems like they would have got on top of that.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised.
Should call Steve Jackson and be like, hey, what's up?
That was a big topic in the chat on the Dev Diary stream on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Munchkin.
For me, it's actually really hard to choose. And actually, I wanted to mention, like we've been, me and Jeremy, and even more than Jennifer and Jean-Marc, Jeremy and I have been working on Sentinels Digital for almost 3 years. As a team, as a full team, it's been about 2 years, but Jeremy and I did a bunch of, you know, prototyping and investigations and stuff for about a year before that. And I think the only way that we would still be interested in it is if we loved the game. And we definitely, like, it's a great game. And, like, you know, ask any game developer if they worked on the game for 2 years, if they still like their game. Most of the time, it's not. Like, we worked on games before and made games, and so, like, I don't play them, but I play Sentinels for fun because I love it. So it's definitely my favorite board game. In terms of other games, it's hard to say because there's so many great ones. I'd say probably the game I play the most outside of Sentinels right now is Patchwork. And I actually never played it that much on the tabletop, but I play the digital version a lot. And it's really well done. So kudos to them.
3 minutes.
And of course, I forget the developer name because I'm a terrible person. But I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to say it out loud in a second here. But I will let Jean-Marc go next.
Yeah, so outside of Sentinels, obviously, the one I've played the most is definitely Settlers, because that was sort of the game that introduced me to board games that weren't, you know, Monopoly and Game of Life. I was always that kid that's like, thought those games were kind of dull while everyone else was having fun because you don't really do a whole lot. It's sort of just deterministic. Like, you roll the dice and whatever happens, happens.
Right.
And so Settlers was like, oh, I actually make decisions and they matter and I can do different stuff and it's fun.
We're into seconds.
So, yeah I'll
that countdown.
Stop there.
All right, we are at 65 seconds, folks. Thank you, everybody, so much for all your support over this last month. You know, we did it. It's funny, like, oh my goodness, we actually raised more than $80,000. I know at the end everybody gets all excited about stretch goals, and stretch goals are awesome and we love them, but the long and the short of it is Season 2 would not have happened without you people, and now it is. And you can thank yourselves for that. We thank you for that. We're excited to bring it to you. We're excited to work on it. I'm excited to know exactly what we're going to be doing for the next 6 months. That, you know, with the end of season 1, it was kind of like, well, we could do this. We could do this. We could start a second game. We could start a, you know, a thing. But now we know, and that is great. I know exactly what the rest of our 2016 is going to look like in 23 seconds. 20, 19,
20 seconds.
18.
Don't
17.
everyone pull.
If you're going to pull the trigger, guys, now's the time.
Yep. If you're going to click back this project, you have 10 seconds.
9, 8, 7,
well, I guess like 30
6,
seconds. Switch to life.
5,
5,
4, 3,
4,
2,
1.
1. Hooray!
Woo!
Sentinels
We
of the
are
Multiverse Season
funded.
2 officially funded. You did it! You and 28,002 backers. Someone snuck in right at the end there. It was at 2801 when I refreshed the page. Brought this project to life. Time to start telling the next chapter of our story. So this is, you're actually seeing like the back end of Kickstarter here. I'm not going to get started on that just yet. Oh, and there's my email from Kickstarter saying, congratulations, you did it. 97,325 is our final total. Yep, all your credit cards just got charged. Anyone want to go to Maui?
Well, no, the credit cards go through over the next couple days.
Right. All right, so I guess we could take another 10 minutes, ask a few
and-
more questions if anybody has them. I think we covered most of the really big ones that people were asking.
Oh, yes, to have a little follow-up on mine. Mad props to Digidiced and, of course, you, Rosenberg, for Patchwork, for making a great digital version there. And actually, like, you know, when we first started working on digital board games, we were basically like, you know, we saw what Playdeck was doing, and we're like, we want to do that too. You know, we want to be a studio that makes really good digital board games. And we're not the only ones. There's a few other studios that are doing that too, and I think that's awesome because, you know, competition is great and makes when other people are making excellent digital conversions, that pushes us to do an even better job. And I think it, you know, and it makes the whole market better. If everyone's got great digital board games, you know, you're more likely to get more. So it's a really great ecosystem that's coming together, I think.
Indeed. All right. I'm going to be doing a couple real quick things, guys. So if you see any other questions that you want to jump on in the chat, go ahead and do that.
There's a question, am I still in Europe? That's right. I'm in Edinburgh right now, in Scotland. And actually on Sunday, I'm heading to Birmingham, England. I'll be there for a while, I'll be going to UK Games Expo. So if you are around, you should come and visit. I'm actually not 100% sure where, but Greater Than Games is going to be having some demo space, so I'll be hanging around there a lot. But if you're in the area and you want to play Sentinels, then head over to the Greater Than Games forums. There's a post in the events forum about that. Who else? Anyone see any questions they want to answer?
There are lots of questions.
Oh, I completely forgot to do the thing I was going to do. Hang on a second.
What were you going to do?
Okay, he's gonna do the thing.
Play the Sentinels Stand Victorious Bloodsworn remix. Dun, 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 dun. I was all caught up in counting down.
What was the largest pledge? We want to reveal that without a name?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me find it real quick.
I have it here.
Oh, do you? Okay.
The largest pledge was $415.
Wow. Thank you, whoever that was.
Thank you very much to mysterious backer number 398. You know who you are.
We're getting a lot of requests for the Cargo Warfare song.
The Sentinels Victorious.
Yeah, I just played it.
Cargo Victory.
And now it's back to the beginning.
Achievement unlocked, or variant unlocked.
Yeah, well, guys, don't worry. You know, you'll be able to get those songs soon. So, if you pre-ordered Soundtrack Volume 5 through the Kickstarter, that'll be coming to you directly. It'll be up for sale basically after Minipack 3 ships, because Jean-Marc is actually working on the last 2 pieces of music for that as we speak. Well, not literally as we speak. Usually on Fridays he is, but this Friday's a special occasion.
I worked a little bit before the stream.
Oh, there you go.
I was working on Guys today.
Were you?
I wrote a piece of text that says, "Looks like Guys is asleep at the wheel." That'll probably be in the game.
Oh, right. Okay, I know what you mean.
There's a lot of extra funny stuff for Guys, so. And actually, that's something I'm a little torn about. How much do we want to show you guys in a live stream, and how much do we want you guys to like see as a surprise for yourself? Any thoughts about that in the chat? Let us know.
Yeah, there's all kinds of like hidden goodies for Guys that you won't see with any other character. So I kind of like the idea of there being somewhat of a, community, like, oh, this happened and this happened and this, like kind of. I think even showing just the basic stuff will be fun.
Yeah, I think we'll show the basic stuff in there. I mean, even if we play 4 games of Guys on the live stream, there's going to be stuff that we put in that isn't going to show up. So
yeah,
and people
definitely.
will find out. And also, some people are like, "Oh, I feel like a jerk because I only pledged X." Like, every pledge is super helpful, so don't feel bad. Like, because you couldn't pledge hundreds of dollars, it's totally fine.
Yes, we appreciated
every dollar.
Christopher Bedell, the creator of Sentinels of the Multiverse. Well, him and Adam, but like the game design, pledged $1.
Oh, jerks.
So there you go.
Yeah, we actually had a number of people who pledged $1. For those who aren't, sort of like hip to how things work on Kickstarter, a lot of people do that on projects that they just want to follow for whatever reason, and they don't want a reward. They just want to sort of be able to get all the updates about it and see how it does. Obviously, as our trusted partners, they get copies of our game. They don't need to get. They don't need to pay us for them, so that's why they do that. But then there's also people, like I know a couple of my personal friends backed us for up to $100 without even taking a reward, because that's one of the things that Kickstarter is so great for, is it's a way to show your support for a thing. Say, I want this thing to be a thing, and I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah. So someone asked the most common pledge amount. The most common pledge level by far was the basic pledge level, $25, with 1,313 backers. So thank you all at that level and at all levels, or at no levels, if you did not select a reward.
Yes, and actually, so we're gonna actually do a wrap-up post. Probably not today, but we'll do a sort of ending of the thing post today, but then we'll do a post-mortem next week to talk about some lessons learned and some other kinds of things. But we have a ton of really great data about how this project went and how things happen. Our average pledge, when you take everything into account, was $34.73. So that shows you, obviously the highest by far was the $25 level, but there were enough people at the other higher levels, whether they were getting a Tachyon card with their base level, or whether they were buying soundtracks or foils or whatever, that sort of brings that average up. And I think that's actually the second most is the 35 Tachyon level.
Does Guys have any unusual audio bits? The answer is yes. And that's something that we'll probably let you guys experience most of those for yourself.
Yeah. And that has nothing to do with the fact that they're not in there yet.
They're not in there yet.
But
they probably won't be in there when we first preview Guys. But the thing about Guys is, like, we have, like, thousands of ideas of how many amazing things we could do. And it's like we only have so much time. And so we're trying to sort of maximize the payoff for what we do. But yeah, like even like today we were talking with Christopher and I was like, oh, we could do this hilarious thing that will happen like 0.01% of the time.
Yes. So yes,
so how much
people are just saying, someone just said, I just realized that his last name is in the company name. Yes, that's right. Handelabra, the word Handelabra came from a desire for me to meld. My dad had a company called The Handle Company because he comes from a generation where you put your name behind your product, but tech companies typically don't do that. It's not the Bill Gates company or the Steve Jobs company. So I tried to find a way to make
George Yelp.
Well, and to be fair, people will go, well, what about Hewlett-Packard? And yes, there are definitely companies that do that. But
yeah, but they're from that era.
Exactly.
You know, it's an old company.
Yes, exactly.
Well, there's the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah, and I mean Dell. To be fair, Dell is a newish company that wasn't necessarily from that era. But anyway, we digress. The point is that I wanted to find a way to both include my name and make it a nonsense word that we could easily trademark and make our own. And so that's where we came up with Handelabra. Yes, LexCorp, Stark Industries, exactly. We'll change it. Handle Industries. All right. Is that confirmation that Guys will get his own set of sound effects for when he borrows Argent Adept's powers? That is confirmation of nothing.
That's right. The only confirmation that you'll get is when you hear anything for yourself. Mysterious silence. Yeah, we talked about Christopher about the high five, and we decided that there's no, we don't want to have this whole thing where, Guys presents a high five, and you can say no, and so then Guys can attempt to high five someone else, blah, blah, blah. So, Guys just gets to high five someone unilaterally in the game. Generally, it's a good thing.
Indeed. All right.
I don't anticipate Guys messing with the in-game. You never know, though.
You never know. Guys
we
does
are
what
looking at
Guys
ways
wants.
to improve the chat, though. There's lots of things for improving multiplayer that we've been hearing about and we have on our list. So at some point we'll be turning our priorities back towards improving some multiplayer bits. So watch out for that. Jeremy, can you confirm that someone says in the company knows what the word confirm means?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Question means?
I can confirm that I cannot confirm that.
I confirm nothing.
Cookie Magic asks, will you guys be at PAX East next year? We don't even know if we're going to be at PAX Prime this year, so so it's a little early to be asking about that. Unfortunately.
Can you talk about any shows that we're going to be at for sure?
Actually, yes, I can talk about that. So the next show that we will be at is a show called RTX. That stands for Rooster Teeth Expo. That is in Austin from July 1st through 3rd. And we will be there showing off not only the video game, but also the card game. Then after that, the next show we will be at is going to be Gen Con, which is in Indianapolis. And I believe this year it's August 4th through 7th, I want to say. Let me look that up while we're talking about this. And then PAX Prime is September 4th through...
But PAX Prime isn't necessarily for sure.
Yeah, PAX Prime is the 2nd through the 4th. 2nd through the 5th, excuse me, right. It goes Friday to Monday. But I don't know yet if we're doing that. We're applying for the Indie Mega Booth again, and if we get that, we may go, but otherwise I don't know if we're going to. So...
And actually, before Rooster Teeth, I will be at UK Games Expo in Birmingham, England.
All right, that's
from June 5th to 7th.
5th to 7th, there you go. Yeah, so anyone...
Greater Than Games will have a presence at a retailer's booth, which I should probably find out what the name is so I can tell people. And I will be there personally. We won't really have sort of a digital booth setup or anything, but I'll be there helping run demos and happy to talk to people and show them the game. Probably can show you the phone version and stuff like that. So if you're interested in things Sentinels digital and physical or other Greater Than Games stuff, you should definitely pop by. I've never been to UK Games Expo. I'm pretty excited. I think it'll be cool. It's kind of I feel like it's going to be like Gen Con PAX UK edition, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then just to confirm again, the Gen Con dates are August 4th through 7th this year. It is, as they say, the best 4 days in gaming, and that is in Indianapolis. We went last year, and it was great. Jean-Marc is going to be coming this year. He wasn't with us last year. John won't be coming, so we're trading a John for a Jean-Marc. And Jennifer, who went last year, will also be there this year. So. Good times, good times.
I'm going to be in Paris at that time. Sorry. if you want to play Sentinels and you're in Paris, let me know. From July 17th to August 20th.
Sarah Zvaten says, I thought it was Handle a Bra. And when we went to register the trademark, they did ask us, they're like, someone could read it this way. And I said, yes, I know.
Did they really?
Oh, well, specifically it was my lawyer, who was like, I'm happy to do this for you. Have you considered the fact that this is a thing that someone might say?
I can confirm that I have made that joke before.
Yes, and it absolutely is. That's why whenever I meet someone, I always make sure to pronounce the name of the company to them. Like, oh, hi, I'm Jeremy from Handelabra Games, so that everyone goes, oh, it's like a candelabra, but with an H. So.
And
when I'm in
we did have
France,
a
I will
question
be
about...
a
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, go ahead, Jen.
Everyone was talking at once. Oh, I was going to say, we did have a question in the chat about whether or not there was a candelabra on jean-marc's piano.
Jean-Marc, behind the candelabra.
You should do a video where you're like playing piano behind the candelabra.
It has to be like a red one with with logo on it.
Well, and speaking of the trademark for Handelabra, if you do a search for Handelabra and do an image search, you will actually find that there is a thing out there called a Handelabra, which is like a Halloween decoration of like a rotting zombie hand with like flames coming out of each of its fingers. But because we don't compete, because we don't compete in the Halloween decoration space, that wasn't a problem with our trademark. Let me see if I can
if they ever need an app, they know who to call.
Yeah, when I search now, luckily because we've gotten so good, now when you search for Handelabra, like 90% of the stuff that comes up is us.
Does it even does it show that? I've never ever. This is the first time I'm hearing about this, Halloween decoration.
Here, I'll search for Handelabra.
Sure, if Handelabra Halloween, it probably comes up. Oh yeah, Halloween Handelabra, green hand, battery operated, fingernails with flickering yellow effect.
Yeah, I'm putting it out on the stream now so people can see what I'm talking about.
Sweet. It costs $7. We're price competitive with them.
And actually, if you look at this image search, Google image search, you guys can't see it unless you did the exact same one, but the people out in Streamlane can see that it's like 90% weird Halloween stuff, and then there's a little Baron Blade favicon down in the corner.
So it's funny you should say 90% you guys and then a Drano logo, because we did a Drano app.
That's true.
Back in the Handelabra Studio days.
Oh, look,
if you image search Handelabra.
It's got a picture of Uncle Slam on it, too.
Yeah, so why don't you talk a bit about the early days of Handelabra, since probably a lot of our fans don't know, Jeremy.
Sure. So that's great. I will talk about that a bit. So yeah, Handelabra, as John said, we've been working on Sentinels for 3 years, but before that even, we were a company. We were founded in September of 2009, and it was just me and John. I knew John through the Ars Technica open forum, which was, sort of like a message board, and we were both members of the gaming forum, and he and I would play Rock Band online together, and we'd play Halo online together, and his handle, as it is here, Migrant P, that actually stood for Migrant Programmer. And so when I got it in my head, like, oh, I think I want to start an app company at the time, I reached out to him. I said, so you're a programmer. What exactly do you program? Because one of the things I'd seen him program was a sort of a scorecard tracking website that would scrape the Rock Band Xbox Live stuff and gather the scores of just the people from our forum, so that we could all share our scores but not have to see all the millions of other people playing the game across the world. And so he was like, oh, I program Macs, and I program Windows, and I program web stuff, and whatever, all kinds of stuff. I said, well, I'm thinking of putting together this company to make some apps. What do you think? You want to maybe join me? And he was like, sure, why not? And so we started the company. We started working on our first app, which was something called Style Assist, which I'm not going to go into too much about what that is. But we were then in business and working together, and then we met each other 6 months later. We were actually a company that existed and was working and making things for 6 months before we were ever in the same room or even the same country together. Because John is Canadian and I am American, and I was in Cleveland and he was in
Edmonton
at the time, right? And so we met at Worldwide Developer Conference in San Francisco for the very first time. And we
2010.
Yeah. Wow, 2010. And that was back in that iteration of the company. We made Uncle Slam, which is our President-on-President boxing game, which is still available if you want to take a look. We made Style Assist. We made Couplet, which was one of the very first apps that would let you take pictures from both the cameras on your phone at the same time. There has since been like a whole host of them, but we were one of the first. We made an app, the best, of course. We made an app called I already said Couplet. We made an app called Reminder, which is a to-do list app, which is still available. And then we also made something called Game Minder, which was an app for tracking video game release dates. And that was a thing that was actually at the largest the company was before we decided to become just a full-on game studio. We had over 10 people working on various aspects of Game Minder, trying to turn that into the next big thing. You can imagine that it was part Wikipedia, part Reddit, part reminder app, part to-do list app, part calendar app. And we were trying to turn it into the thing because we sort of could see that the whole concept of video game release dates was changing, and we wanted to find a way to track those for people. And it ended up going under. Oh, well. Wah, wah.
It was a good idea, but it was too big for britches, I think.
Yes, exactly. And then, so it was basically when that was sort of crumbling in 2012 that it was like, all right, well, what could we do next? We had already done Sentinels Sidekick at that point because we met the Sentinels guys in 2011, and we were like, this is really cool. And John bought the game and took it home and was like, oh, this would be even better if I just had a little app that could track all the hit points for me. And so he made it himself sort of on the weekend and was like, hey, brought it to me and said, hey, I made this thing. Do you think that they'd be cool with us, doing something with this? And so we contacted Greater Than Games. We said, hey, we made this thing. It tracks your game. Can we make a partnership and actually then put your artwork in it and have it be the officially licensed product and all this other stuff? And they were for it. And so we sort of partnered with them and used that kind of as the jumping off point for them trusting us to turn the actual card game into a video game. And we started that process basically at the end of 2013 when we went through a local business accelerator here in Cleveland. And I think that takes us up to at least the beginning of the Sentinel story.
I just posted a link in the chat of our blog post about the Handlebar Rebirth that has a bit more detail about it as well. And the evolution of the logo.
Yes. People are asking, would you guys want to come to Dragon Con instead of PAX? Yeah, Dragon Con and PAX are almost always the same time. And I do want someday to go to Dragon Con. I don't know that we'll go as a company to Dragon Con because it's more of a Comic Con than it is like a game convention. And we've done a couple Comic Cons, and they tend not to be as good for us, just from in terms of a pure sort of sales perspective. When we go to PAX, we actually sell quite a bit of our game. When we go to Wizard World Cleveland or Comic Cons like that, we tend not to. RTX is actually a bit of a experiment. We went to RTX. We actually were the banner sponsor of RTX the first year that it was big as Game Minder. We were their their number one sponsor. There was only about 4,000 people there. But this year, RTX is actually going to be as big as a PAX Prime. So they're expecting 60,000, 70,000 people. So,
yeah. So one thing I often think about is sort of the serendipity of our company in that, we spent a number of years and of course money building apps and stuff, which were cool and stuff, and getting lots of experience doing that. But the real success that we've had is due to showing a different game that ended up not really succeeding at a show where we happened to be next to the Greater Than Games booth by complete coincidence.
Yeah.
And we happened to be have a booth next to them, and that's how we knew about Sentinels just after it came out, and that's how we met those guys and eventually did stuff. And even further to that, I was just thinking now, when you talked about Sentinel Sidekick, is in the original version of Sentinels, so the dyed-in-the-wool Sentinels fans will know this, the original little square box that wouldn't close after you opened it the first time, it had a different mechanic. It had both, you had to track both hit points of targets, and their maximum hit points could also change. I don't know if you knew this, Jeremy.
You hinted at it, but I didn't remember it in terms of how it specifically worked.
So a card like Staff of Ra would, I believe, it increased Ra's maximum hit points by 4, and so, but that would also change his current hit points to match. But then if he lost that increase, like if the staff got destroyed, his hit points would go down a matching amount. And so you had to keep track of both their current maximum hit points and their current actual hit points.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were these 2 numbers you had to track for each character. And it was, there weren't any tokens in the box. There was like a little piece of paper and you had to like find a bead to put on it, or track someone with 2 dice or whatever. Richard points out it was by 5. So when the enhanced edition came out, they took away that mechanic and replaced it with just, they rearranged the numbers a little bit so that it still was balanced, but you didn't have to keep track of 2 numbers changing. And now that I'm thinking about it, like if enhanced edition had been the first version and it came with tokens and it was just the 1 HP changing, I'm not sure if there would have been as much impetus for me to make Sentinel's sidekick. Like it was that there was like too much to track in the original game that I felt the need to make Sentinel's sidekick, and I was just going to make it for myself. I wasn't actually going to make it as Handelabra. I was just like, I'm just going to make this for myself on the weekend because I like this game and I want to make it better for myself. And then we're like, let's put it out as a 99-cent app and whatever. But like, I don't even know if that would have happened if the original version hadn't had, I wouldn't say it's a design flaw, but it's like something that they were able to improve in a later version. And so that's like, it's like double serendipitous because of that, I think.
Indeed.
Because having Kick was like, a big part of the trajectory of getting towards doing the digital version.
A little trip down memory lane here with the
Yes.
Handelabra team. Yeah, so that's John and I talking a lot about our history together, but then both Jean-Marc and Jennifer came to the team basically after we went through the Launch House Accelerator and built a prototype. I went out trying to raise money, and when we actually did successfully raise the money, now obviously we're talking about raising money, we're doing it now here from you guys directly, but at that time we were actually raising money from an investor. We have a single investor, and after we raised the money from him, that was when it was like, all right, we can go from more than just myself and John, and we can add a couple more people to the team. At one point we had, I think, as many as about 6 or 7 people working. We had another Unity person. We had 2 or 3 helpers working on environments. We talked a little bit about this in the dev diary with Jennifer earlier in the week. We had a marketing person. We had,
and they're all in the credits. So
we had a couple of different.
Look at the credits, and everyone, even though they're not part of the team right now, they were obviously hugely important in making the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And we had a couple audio people. The audio that you actually hear in the game, the sound effects, were actually done by me. It's one of the few things that I've done directly in the game. I've done a lot of supporting stuff for the game, but the sound effects are the one thing that I actually created myself. And I am completely okay with admitting that the sound effects are probably, if there is a weakest link in the game, it's probably the sound effects. They've obviously grown on us at this point, so when you hear the fire effect or the radiant effect, like that, you associate that with Sentinels. But if there's one thing that we would potentially like to go back and give a nice little overhaul to, it would be the sound effects. Whether it's just making them sound better individually or adding more options for each one, that's something that's still sort of on our to-do list of, if we get the time and the money to do it, we would definitely consider cleaning that up a little bit. So, all right. Well, it is now 2:28, which means it's an hour after we started. I think that's pretty good. We've covered some questions. We've covered some history. We've raised $97,325. I think that's pretty good for a day's work. Ooh. What do you guys think?
For a month's work.
For a month's work. All right. Well, thank you guys once again. Remember, the Kickstarter may be over, but the Season 2 fundraising party and release cycle is just beginning. So there'll be more to hear from. We'll be posting information to the Kickstarter, posting information to our blog, our social media, everywhere. And of course, you can always check in with us every Tuesday night at 7 Eastern for Sentinels Live. Anybody else have any closing thoughts?
Thanks, everybody, for making it making Season 2 happen.
It would not be here if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.